Hello and welcome back to the Side Escape Gaming Podcast, episode 83. I'm your host, Jake Burke, and joined, as always, by James St. Charles and Ted, the biggest fan of the Washington football team I personally know, Libby.
That's me. Love the Washington football team. Love the players. Love
You were naming a ton of players earlier. You want to throw off some names?
Yep. I think Larry.
I'm on a first name basis with my football players, so
Right.
I like Larry.
Right.
I like David. Brian, great guy.
I think Larry's like Taylor Heineke's like Waterboy.
Waterboy.
But yeah.
Ted loves he loves the crew of the team. He's a big fan of the support staff.
Yeah, big fan of the maintenance staff.
Yeah.
Exactly. They're great.
When a timeout happens and people run in the field with water bottles, that's when Ted cheers.
There's
Hell
Jeff.
yeah, dude.
There's
There's
Jeff. I know Jeff.
Man, he's good with that Gatorade.
Yeah.
What a squeeze
It's
of
like,
water.
okay, so it's like the people, this is a different sport, in basketball who have to like scrub the court
with their
after
sweat.
everything, which is
Yeah.
absolutely hilarious.
Gratuitous, yeah.
Or vomit in the case of the Sacramento Kings.
Does that happen
local.
often?
That's
It's
for
happened
the
once.
That's
on
for the
live
audience.
TV.
The audience. They have to clear up the audience.
Happened once,
throw.
and that was enough.
That's awful.
Yeah, they had to stop the game.
But enough
remember
about
that.
sports, because this is the 83rd episode of the Sidescape Gaming Podcast, where every Monday morning a new episode goes live on YouTube.com, SoundCloud, and Spotify. Once a week, we sit down in Discord over 500 miles, talk about a gaming-related topic, and what we've been playing. But this week, we're not doing any of that, because you know what we're talking about this week, boys?
What?
Game of the motherfucking year, 2021. We've all brought 10 games, our top 10 lists of the year, ordered, ranked, and we're going to go from 10 down, descending round robin until we reach our game of the year. Now, and then of course, if we all have a different number one, we'll debate and decide over what game is game of the year.
GOTMFY.
The OTMFY. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Game of the motherfucking year.
Game of the motherfucking year. Okay. I want to just jump right into it. Does that sound good?
This year's
Yeah.
games were not bangers.
So I thought that was kind of interesting. Before I guess we could say that. I thought my top 5 were like, okay, this would be normally in my top 10 on like a big year.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought the back half was like, I had to really figure out the order.
My bottom, it was like, yeah, I guess this goes here. But the top 5, I feel like we always get a solid top 5. It's like there's always 5 solid games in a year.
Yeah.
But like there's probably like earlier, it's like probably when we first started, that was a solid year.
Yeah,
we
and
probably got a good top 10.
Mhm.
Like, it's on me. My list is games that I played, so there are a lot of good
Yeah.
games that I just didn't play this year.
Yeah.
Same,
But I was
yeah.
looking at it, I was just kind of like, I really like my top 3, and the rest are kind of like
Whatever's. Yeah.
Same.
whatever's. Yeah, and that's on me for like, Guardians of the Galaxy came out at a time when I couldn't play something new. Never got around to it. It's not on my list, and that's on me. But
Yeah.
it
The
felt
two,
like kind of an off year.
the two games that I have that would probably be on my list that I'm currently actually playing is Psychonauts 2, which I'm really enjoying. It's very wacky and wild. And then The Forgotten City, which I don't know if either of you have heard of this.
Yeah, I
No.
have.
But it's an old
Looks really
Sky.
cool.
Yeah, it's like a Skyrim-esque. It was started as a Skyrim mod, and then they actually developed like a game around it. But it's
Oh,
like a
shit.
murder mystery game, James, where you are in like a Roman city, and if someone commits a crime, everyone dies. And
sin.
yeah, a sin. If everyone breaks the golden rule, everyone dies and is turned to gold. And you are put there in a time loop to figure out who is going to commit a sin. And you're like a detective. But
So it's like a death loop.
it is kind of like Deathloop, but there's no real fighting. It's like pure conversation stuff. There's a little surprise and stuff, but it's really good.
Yeah, I
I'm
heard it
like
was really
kind of
good.
floored by it. It's on Game Pass. Bunch of shit's on Game Pass for Game of the Year stuff.
Oh, it's on
That's
Game
cool.
Pass? I
It's
didn't
on
know
Game
that.
Pass now.
Yeah, it was made by like a lawyer, like a not gamer
Yeah.
wanted to write a book and couldn't, and so he made a Skyrim
I'm
mod
just gonna learn
instead.
to code.
It's a wild. He like hired a coder and just wrote the script for it instead. It's a wild idea.
That's wild. I didn't know that. That's
You know what?
Yeah,
If you want to
yeah.
write a book, Ted, get someone else to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If you want to write a book, make a game. That's what I always say.
Yeah.
All right, Ted, I'm always curious about your lists.
a mediocre book is a great game.
It's a great game. That's what they've always said. Ted, I want to start with you. What is your 10th game on your list?
What?
And if any of us else have it on our list, we'll say what number it is on our list, or we can say it's later on our list and join in this conversation.
Okay, so my number 10.
Your number 10. Drum roll, please.
So my number 10 is as number 10 as it gets. This is thrown on here simply because like it gets the most minimal of shoutouts. I put the Ascent. The
Oh
Ascent.
yeah, you liked that
Um,
game.
and I
It
did,
didn't
and
make my list.
I didn't love it. It in a bigger and better year, other games would have easily replaced it.
Hmm.
Um, but I enjoyed my time with it enough, and I also just thought it was a beautiful game. And like
And you played it co-op, right?
I played it co-op,
Yeah.
which actually ended up being kind of a pain in the butt. Because that game, your characters level up, and there isn't like a easy level if a player 3 shows up, so he just gets a nerfed character.
That sucks.
So my co-op experience was people slowly dropping out as they missed a session.
Yeah.
Because we came back and they were like 4 levels behind, and they were like, "This is stupid. I can't keep up with you guys." And that's how it petered out. But ultimately, the game was just a beautiful. I got it. I was playing it at the same time I had a new TV, so I was playing it in 4K and it's a cyberpunk game where all the neon just reflects off of the wet
Ray
ground.
tracing. Had
Yeah.
ray tracing.
Yeah, and I just thought it was a really neat example of the next generation.
Oh, nice. Very nice.
Um,
Not on my list.
Yeah, it was
Would-
not on my
yeah.
list, but I enjoyed my time with it. Like briefly, I probably played like 3 levels with people. But you're right, like people fall off, and then it's like, oh, you can't continue on. I started over like probably like 2 or 3 times with people just to try and catch them up, and it was just not worth it. And
Yeah, and I thought the combat that it was a lot of fun for what it was. I don't know if you guys remember you had to like aim high or low, so there was this very like
yes,
it felt very tactical for a top-down shooter.
Yeah.
Or a twin stick.
it's creative.
Shooter. Yeah, and I thought it was creative and fun. It got on my number 10.
Yeah.
It squeezed by.
It squeezed by. James, what
It
squeezed
got
by
it.
on your list?
For my number 10, which I thought this was going to be way high up at the start of the year, and that is Loop Hero.
Oh,
Loop Hero is
wow.
my number 10.
That was your number 10?
Wow.
Yeah.
Didn't make my
My
list.
Okay.
Yeah, Loop Hero, I feel, was really great at the start,
Mm-hmm.
and then as you progressed, it kind of just got a little bit, I don't know, too much, I'd say. Like, you just had to invest so much time and
Yeah.
energy into leveling up and, like, getting a better loop
Mm-hmm.
that it fell off. But I felt like it needed to be on it because it was great at the start. And
It's
I
a
feel
great
like
game.
It's a good concept, and I saw it was on Switch as well. Like, that's great. That's a good game for the Switch. So happy for that. I think it needed a nod, so I put it at 10.
No, that's a great pick. That's kind of a game I almost forgot about, but had a great time with while playing it, and
Yeah.
it really stuck with me.
I was hoping an iPad version of that game would come out, and it kind of never did. It might in future.
Seems perfect for it.
I know,
Yeah.
it's kind of like Darkest Dungeon, a game that's perfect for iPad that'll just never seem to happen.
That's weird. The Darkest Dungeon's not on an iPad.
Isn't it?
That's weird. That's weird. Huh. That's a very easy boop 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 game.
Yeah, exactly.
If it comes to iPad, I will enjoy the heck out of it.
It's a great
in
game.
another year.
They're making a sequel of that, I think, next year, right?
Loop Hero 2?
No, Darkest Dungeon. too.
Loop Hero
Yeah,
2.
it's complicated. It's in Epic exclusive early access that came out
It's
this year.
out, and
So if we want to talk about if early access counts, it's released this year. Anyway.
Anyways, my game number 10 is Forza Horizon 5.
wow.
Is it on either of your guys' lists?
No,
I never played it. I played the introductory bits.
Yeah.
And was like, wow, this is really pretty. And then remembered I don't really like to play racing games.
That's exactly.
So that's my thing. I don't really like to play racing games unless it's Mario Kart.
Yeah.
But this
Yeah.
game grabbed me for a weekend, and I was in, and it was, it is one of those games where like, wow, I get why our friend Gunnar is obsessed with Forza. Like, if you're really into cars and like this is
Yeah,
your
you can
thing,
get why someone would like it.
yeah, and like it is just the best car game. Like that's like what I felt playing. I was like, wow, this just feels like probably the best car game, and it's easy for me to understand, but it's really cool for him to get technical and to see a game be that big in scope of like hardcore fans to me about cars was really cool. And the weekend was great. I never went back to it. I never have a plan to go back to it. I unlocked the DeLorean and I was done. But definitely I think it deserves a shout out for just being such a great game for what it is. It's trying to be exactly what it is and it nails it. That's my number 10.
Cool.
Nice.
Ted, number 9.
For number 9, I put Sable.
Oh yeah.
Kind of another squeezed on there. But this one I appreciate a lot more. Sable was simple. It was really basic in a lot of ways. There wasn't really any combat to it.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of just it was like a chill vibes game. And so for that it was really cool. I think playing the beginning of Sable, playing the first 6 hours, is kind of all you need to understand what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, until that first song hits, the real song, and the title sequence. For those who played it, if you guys haven't, then
I have
go
no
play
idea
a
what
couple
you're
hours of
talking
Sable. It's marred. It still has technical bugs. It's very simple, but it is a really cool, chill vibes game. It's just I'm gonna relax in a really cool, artistic looking world. All the characters I talk to are gonna be positive, and I'm just gonna float around on my glider listening to indie ambient music.
I mean, it
Really
sounds
selling this
great.
game.
Yeah, I mean, it does sound interesting. Yeah.
It is a really good, like, if Zelda's a little much for you, but you really want to decompress after work, it's like the perfect. That's where it lives. It's like an after work but before a real game kind of a game.
That makes sense. Yeah. Sable. Was that on your list, James?
Sable was not. I never played it.
But what was your number 9, James?
My number 9 was Wildermyth.
Wildermyth. Oh.
Wildermyth.
Did not make my list. That's a great game.
That was a pretty good game. Definitely enjoyed my time with the group of friends I was playing with, and it was really we really got into it in the brief time we were playing it.
At the risk of sounding like a bad video game podcaster, what the heck is Wildermyth?
This is man, it plays like it's like a build your own story adventure, but
Fire Emblem combat.
Yeah, with Fire Emblem, or like like a XCOM,
turn-based
type
combat.
Yeah, turn-based combat. But it's you can control each of your own characters, so you can have I don't know how many people you can have. You have like a lot of 8 players at once. I don't know, something ridiculous. But I played with a group of 4, and we would voice our own lines that it would generate for us. One of us died permanently, and it was great. And then we pick someone else up, and I was like, you had to tell them no, we didn't just lose someone permanently. The story is ridiculous, and it's just fun. But then after you play a while, it kind of just auto generates, and it's the same thing over and over again.
I noticed that when I was playing it.
It looped a little bit too much, so it was a good concept though, and I definitely had a great time. I think it deserved to be on the list, so put it on there.
It's really cool too when you have a party of characters, and then when you finish a campaign, you can take them to the next one, and they've grown up.
Yeah,
and they're older,
cool.
and they can get mutations and stuff. It's a really clever game.
Yeah, it's very good.
My number 9 is Metroid Dread. Ted, is this on your list at all?
Is it? I think I may have booted Metroid Dread from my list out of spite.
Out of spite.
We talked a lot about it in our review, but Metroid Dread for me is a really good game that's really trying hard to be great, and I don't think it ever gets there. But for me, what kind of why it's on my list is I think Metroid Dread did a great job of the flow of moving you from one point to another without you feeling like you're really struggling to figure out where you're going. It had a really interesting kind of pace to it of how you move through levels to levels. I was like, wow, I'm just already here now and here. And some of the boss fights are really memorable. That being said, I don't think it's the best Metroidvania game in the last 10 years by a long shot. I think it's one of the most mediocre ones I've played. But for how it paced itself, I think it just deserves to be on this list of I would recommend it if you want to play a Metroid game, it's pretty good.
I think actually for that same quota is why it's not on my list of if you want to play a Metroid game, I would say don't play this because the story is throw out the window garbage. It's I don't know, it's kind of just
it's kind of
ridiculously stupid. It doesn't even make sense. But not even the setup or the situation is fun.
How you lose your abilities is just because you have to lose your abilities. It's one of those games.
Physical amnesia is what you just get. Just a Metroid game with a story as simple as you're stuck on a research base. That's all you need. This was not even that. And coupled that with that end, the second half of the game just being extremely grindy and extremely difficult. It fell off my list for me.
It makes sense too. We were talking about the last half of our lists were okay, let's put this one on. Sure.
Yeah.
So that's how I felt with Metroid Dread. Ted, what about your number 8? 8.
So funnily, speaking of Metroidvania games, my number 8 is Axiom Verge 2.
Oh, I was worried about this.
I played 15 minutes of this game. I bought it, played 15 minutes, and never went back. I just remember that I bought it.
Yeah, and I think the reason it's lower on my list is because it fails to capture the high of the first game.
Damn.
I think it's really interesting and unique, but it's just different enough to where it wasn't quite jiving with me.
That's how I felt.
We talked about it back at the time, but if we're talking about Metroidvania, this slides heavily onto the Vania side, which is funny because I was not a Castlevania person. I was a Metroid person. So when you slide that needle to the other side, you kind of lose me of like, okay, what do I do? And so I thought it was really neat. The pastel color palette was really cool. And I thought the music itself was actually really fun. It would be fun music to listen to on its own, just like the first game. But the narrative of it not being like you're in a weird acid trip of a computer, like the first game's like you're in a computer, but also drugs are involved. It's wild. This isn't that. Yeah. And they also try and tie the narrative together in a way where you're like, okay, now you're explaining stuff and none of it makes sense. But I thought it was a decently fun Vania game. And I enjoyed my time with it. I don't think I'll really go back to it. I won't praise it to the heavens like I do Axiom Verge. It was good.
I always felt it was weird that they really took a hard different direction with the sequel. Where like the first one's vibe was so cool. Yeah. To really steer it to like an archaeological dual plane world, it was just kind of weird. Yeah.
They left the computer plus drugs and went for like a fantasy alternate reality kind of a thing. It's strange for sure. It was weird. I hope that this game gets like cult following later on, and there are people who like love it, who hated the first one but love the second one. Like, I hope it lives a life of its own over there.
Yeah, I can see it happening. James, what is your number 8 game?
My number 8 is New World.
Wow. Amazon's New World.
Yeah, I think I put in way too much time for this not to be on my list, and for the time I did put into it and playing with some friends, it was great. Definitely at the start, it's like it has like feel like everyone's in the same boat, and then after a while, it just became way too grindy. At first, it was kind of relaxing. I was like, "Oh, this feels great! Like, you get to like walk everywhere. It's kind of like taking the environment, and I don't have to like teleport everywhere like you usually or get a mount." So it was kind of nice. Like everyone was kind of in the same boat, and then you chop down trees, like little simple stuff that went a long way, and then it just what happened in the first 20 levels happens in the next 20 levels. So it was just like, okay, they didn't put any effort into like diversifying like the leveling until you get to end game. So I was like, it's just not worth my time. So I dropped it around like when I think reached level 50. But definitely was fun, and I put a lot of time into it, and I feel like definitely deserves to be on the list. But in the current state, I don't know if I would recommend it.
That's what I was gonna ask. You played it before it kind of broke, essentially.
Before it got completely went downhill. But at the start, it was great.
So, very nice.
It's hard with like these types of games, like making it like on this list, like giving it a nod.
What's number 8 on your list is the launch of
the launch of
New World launch
edition.
Yes.
Yeah.
My number 8 is a Ratchet and Clank: A Rift Apart, the PS5 exclusive. I didn't love this game by any means. I found it very fun, but I remember when we were kind of talking about it in the review, Ted, you brought up a point of like this game, you've seen like there's no loading times and like the impressiveness of like what this game is doing with the PS5 technology. And that's why like right now this game's on my list, because if someone had a PS5, I was like, if you want to see what this thing can do, play this game. Play Ratchet and Clank, because it is so impressive. You hop into a spaceship and you're already ready to take off. It never loads. It's just like stuff like that. The technological aspect of this game was so impressive that it has to be on the list. And of course, it's Ratchet and Clank, so it's fun. You get to throw a grenade that turns people into grass. It's cool.
Yeah.
But
that's cool.
Not like it's gonna, like Ted said with Axiom Verge, I'm not gonna scream it from the heavens, but it's a cool technological piece.
Yeah.
Number 7, Ted.
So I would say my middle section of my list is where things are still contentious. We were talking in the pre-show. Our tops are kind of locked, but in this middle area, it's a little bit like could go any way. It's a lot like a Formula One race.
Exactly, it's just like that.
Another sports reference for you. So my number 7 is Pokemon Unite.
Oh God!
Oh, nice.
I forgot that game.
Yeah, and I'll put it on here for 2 reasons. One, I legitimately had a lot of fun with it. It's a MOBA with a much lower skill ceiling, skill floor.
Floor.
And that in and of itself was just a lot of fun. It's a goofy little team game where everybody feels overpowered all the time. But the other thing is that I played this game on a phone, I played this game on a phone, and then I played it on the Switch, and then I went back to the phone because
Hmm.
it was a better game on phones.
Wow.
And that's never really happened to me before. You know, I talk about it once a month in this podcast, but like we think about mobile phone games and video games as two separate categories.
Yeah.
One's a glorified slot machine, and the other one's, you know,
A game.
a game. Okay,
Yeah.
exactly. You know, a medium. But this was the first time where I was like, this just feels like a video game. And yeah, I'm sure I'm tapping my phone, but everything's working. No thing's lagging. I'm winning. I'm losing, just like I would be on a computer or an Xbox, but it's on my phone.
That's interesting. That's cool.
It's the first time I've really just been like,
Wow.
this is a better phone game than it is on a Switch game.
That's how I felt about Fruit Ninja back in the day.
Right,
Better
Angry
phone
Birds.
game.
Remember that game, Ted?
No, I didn't have an iPhone until way later. I was
Okay,
late to the
fair.
game.
Pokemon Unite. Very interesting. James, what is your number 7?
Number 7, I have It Takes Two. I feel like
Wow.
it definitely needed to be on our list, or at least my list, just because
Why?
we played it and we put in some time, and I just felt like this game, seeing as it got like the Game Awards Game of the Year, and it's
Yeah.
gotten like I think over like 40, 50 awards so far. It is a great game, co-op game, but I feel like it just didn't really. I just didn't really play it like how it was intended. Like I feel like this is great if you have someone right next to you and you're on a
Mhm.
couch co-op,
Mhm.
and that's exactly what I meant. Whereas, like A Way Out, I feel like that worked. His other game,
Yeah.
worked great like over online. Like I played A Way Out a number of times. With
And
people.
we played A Way Out, and it was like 4 hours.
Yeah,
For me,
yeah.
I think the only so It Takes Two is going to be my number 10, and I actually switched it with Forza like right before the show.
Oh, okay.
It was just like right there. And I think for me with It Takes Two is we didn't play it in the proper way, like we were talking about.
That's
but I
what I
also
think,
think
yeah,
like
yeah.
it's very long. Like
It's way longer.
It's like 10
like-
hours, right? I think like
I think it's more than that. Like I watched someone play right now. I think it's
Yeah.
like 12 hours.
and it's just that's hard for me to be like, let's just sit down for
It's-
12 hours and play a game.
Yeah.
You know, like,
It's weird. It is almost like a husband and wife game.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
I say that only because everything else gets eliminated. Like it's not for kids.
Yep.
It's definitely best played co-op. So roommates,
Yeah.
like you.
No,
it's not really like a you and the bros.
It's
like, you know,
definitely
it's-
a good couch co-op type of.
Yeah,
game.
Yeah.
It seems like a game for two adultish people to sit down for multiple times,
Mhm.
play a co-op game together,
Yeah.
which really narrows it down to like roommates and
It's
spouses
like
Spouses,
and significant others.
couples and roommates. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's basically what it is.
That's a great pick. I think
Yep.
that's a great place to put it on
Yeah.
the list as well. And I would have done it, but I just
Yeah.
feel like we didn't be. I didn't feel like I didn't give it enough justice in like how I played it. But I think
Yeah,
it is
yeah,
really
yeah.
great. Like there are times I remember we were playing and like, whoa, this is so cool. Like
True, yeah.
what a cool co-op way.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Speaking of cool things, my number 7 is Hitman 3. Ted, is it on your
oh
list?
yeah.
Yeah, actually, that's my number 4.
Okay. Do you want to wait till it's your number 4? Let's talk about it then.
Okay,
Okay. Perfect. So Ted, what is your number 6?
just get to talk to me more.
Uh-huh.
My number 6 is Age of Empires 4.
Yeah.
Primarily the trebuchet and instruction video.
Well, of course. I mean,
So-
that's actually my number 1. That's a separate
Oh, I
Is
see.
that
video game entry. Yeah, just the trebuchet clip.
Yeah.
No,
launch
I don't know.
edition, right?
It's strategy games are in a really weird spot.
Did you hear James's joke? That
Yeah,
was
he
so
made a launch
good.
edition joke. Yeah.
But it's a trebuchet, so it
Trebuchet.
launches shit.
If they had done that, it would have been game of the. It would have been like everybody's game of the year.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry. That was a really good joke. All right, Ted.
It's
Age of
just a
Empires.
good. Every once in a while, it's good to get reminded that strategy games exist.
Mm-hmm.
This is a lot of fun, and it leans into the reason I was given Age of Empires as a kid is because my parents were tricked
Shut the hell
into
up.
thinking it was an educational game.
Yeah.
And so they lean into it, and they put a lot of love into that side of things, and I think it deserves credit there. It's not really something I was like inclined to play. I was kind of just pick it up on an off day when I was bored, watch a few clips about trebuchets, watch a video about a castle, play some levels.
Yeah.
I never got into the competitive side of things because I think the competitive side of RTS games, the skill level shoots way up really fast, and you're like, especially with Age of Empires, you're it gets
It's a lot of management.
like
I love
Yeah.
watching it though. Like watching the pro scene, it is incredible. Like the
yeah,
speed.
but as soon as you try and take what they're doing and apply it to your own fingers, it's a headache.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I just stayed away from that. I was a very casual Age of Empires player, and I enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun.
Very nice.
Definitely good.
James, what is your number 6?
My number 6 is Death's Door.
Wow.
This
So that's my
game-
number 5.
That's your number 5. Ooh.
Yeah. We can talk about it now.
Interesting.
You want to talk about it now?
Skip him.
All right, we'll come back to it.
Yeah.
We're going to come back to it on my number 5.
We'll come back to it for your.
right.
I like the skipping.
I like the
idea.
skip. I like going it back to it. All right.
Skip.
My number 6 is Guardians of the Galaxy.
Beautiful.
I wish, Ted, that you would have played this game. I think you would have
I
been
know.
impressed.
And I think I might soon.
Yeah.
This might be unrelated to our conversation, but I have heard so many people in the past 3 weeks in the end of December after awards are done pipe their love of this game of like, hey, by the way, this is actually like, really good.
Yeah.
Which I think is really funny that like none of us believed in it,
Yeah, true.
much like the real Guardians of the Galaxy. And then it comes out and everyone's like, whatever, I guess
kinda
it's
good.
fine. And then way after the fact, after it has probably lost its Square Enix, like,
Yeah.
you know, they have their
It
quotas
did
for how
not
many
do
it should-
well. It sold very
Yeah,
well.
yeah. After
Well-
its numbers are bad, after Square Enix fired people are piping up and being like, yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, it's
Pretty good.
it like that. That's a great way to say it. It is like this is pretty good.
Yeah.
The writing in this game alone is just like amazing, and then I guess a lot of my list is like what I've been really impressed by this year, and the amount of dialogue that is in this game is actually stupid. They don't ever stop talking because that's what the Guardians do. They just are always bickering, and this game they are always bickering. Rocket Raccoon, I love him. He never shuts up. Like he must have the most lines out of. He's like the Hamlet of video game characters. He's got the most lines ever. He just talks the whole time. That was my theater education paying off for you. But so I just from that alone was impressive. The combat's whatever. There's some really bad moments of like the huddles and stuff, but what it doesn't get right, it gets like 10 out of 10 right. And I think that alone is just like they made a Guardians of the Galaxy game, and it's fucking good, and like that's cool. Yes, Ted.
Thank you for answering my question.
Mm-hmm.
Ted Libby, Associated Press.
Uh-huh.
Do you think that this game may have been shot in the foot by how bad Avengers
Yes.
did, of where everyone
Absolutely.
said Square
Definitely.
Enix made a terrible Marvel video game, and we don't trust this?
Yeah.
Also, the trailer, the announcement did not look good, and then the next trailer was amazing. That's basically what happened.
I think the marketing was horrible for this game.
Yeah.
I think the fact that Star-Lord is not Chris Pratt and you only play as Star-Lord sounds really unappealing.
True.
Yeah.
And then when you play it, or you're like, oh no, I don't need to play as Drax or whatever. But like
No.
that, I think like the sound of this game is like I only play as kind of the human boring character of this. Like I don't get to be Rocket Raccoon or Drax.
Yeah.
I think that like really limits it. But it ended up being a great story based game, and I think that was really surprising. There's some pretty bad moments in it, but it's still great.
Yeah, I'll be the first to admit that describing this game to me at the time was like a huge red flag of like Square Enix is making another Marvel game, and you don't get to switch characters. You don't get to do that Final Fantasy VII thing where you play different characters. I was like, none of this sounds like it's gonna work. That's on me, but who knows? Maybe this game will come back in a sale and be a favorite.
I hope so. I hope more people play it.
Yeah.
Ted, we're on number 5. What is your number 5?
We're gonna skip me here. My number 5 is Deathloop.
All right. Yep. We're all gonna come back to Deathloop.
We'll come back.
Yep.
We're gonna
Okay.
loop back.
We're gonna loop back. Don't worry.
Yeah.
So James, what is your number 5?
My number 5 is Kada.
Whoa, that's high.
Yeah, Kada Bridge of Spirits.
Kana's not even on my list.
I actually really enjoyed this game a lot. Like, except for the ending.
Right.
But everything except for the last fight, I loved it. Like the combat was great. I mean, I feel like I don't know if it was better, but I played mouse and keyboard, and I was having an absolute blast with the battles, and just like learning the puzzles and like kind of like collecting all the little like sprites. God, I can't remember their names. You remember their names?
The Rot.
Rot. Yeah,
It's
Rot.
like the worst name
using yeah, Rot. It's dumb. Anyway, the black sprites, the soots, they just like interacting with them and interacting with the environment and hearing the stories and like who you're trying to save. Like the ending's awful, but it's cinematic. It's I feel like this studio can do so much better, and it's an absolute great start. So it's really high on my list, number 5. Because I was like, I just enjoyed my time with it, and I thought it was really good.
Yeah, it is a game that makes me so excited to see what they're gonna do next. I'm like,
Yeah,
if that's what you did first, let's see, because you guys are on to something. And
Yep,
if
yep.
the animation, I mean, graphically alone,
Yeah,
I get why
it's
there.
probably one of the best of the year. Yeah.
And I wonder, I don't think this game will go down in history, but the next game,
Mm-hmm.
I think will. And I say that because I think this grabbed the attention of a whole bunch of people with money who goes, okay, those people who make movies and cinematics, that can be
Let's get
applied
that, yeah.
here.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wonder if we will see a wave of animated movies, but they're video games coming out, if that makes sense. And I wonder if this will be that like linchpin, that the step that gets us to, wherever we will go. Because this game looks beautiful. I never really had any intention of playing it. That's just on me. New IP, kind of a weird.
New IP, $20-something game. It was pretty good. Or no, it was $40, but it was still good. Yeah.
Yeah, but seeing this and knowing the future would be really cool.
Yeah, and it still is a good game. The combat was surprisingly great.
Yeah, combat was fun. That's what I really enjoyed about it. And then puzzles were easy, but the combat was fun.
And Ted, you got to put hats on all your little men.
I bought all the hats.
That's a big
selling point. That's
all you could use the
hats.
money for, James.
Yeah, that's exactly all you could do it. So I had to spend it all on hats.
All on hats. My number 5 is what we already. James is number 6. Death's Door.
Death's Door.
What a great Zelda-like, Metroidvania-ish kind of game.
So when I just a weird story. When I was like making my list, I was like just looking at my library like on Steam and just like looking at all the games. And I noticed someone on my friends list had just put it on their like wish list. And so like, you know what? I'm gonna buy it for you. It's on sale for like $10, like way cheap than when we paid for it. So I was like, sure, I'm just gonna buy it for you. Enjoy this great game because what a fantastic Zelda Dark Souls-esque combat, beautiful music, atmosphere. God, but it was a blast playing.
Great boss battles. Great.
Oh yeah.
Great story. I thought the story was really fun.
Story is great.
And really just fun exploration and kind of I even did some of the stuff after you beat the boss of like certain little side missions you can go do like once you've beaten the boss, and I was really enjoying those. Other things kind of took me away from it, but it was a game that I like truly enjoyed, and this is kind of the start of the list of these games I really like. Like I really like or love these games that are coming out.
You get to the part where it's like, these games are I can't wait for what's next too. Also with this one, like if they continue it on, or
oh my god, I played Death's Door 2 or something. This game was something very cool, and only good things to say about it. I don't think there was any bad part of this game.
No, I feel like when we talk about like these games, no issues whatsoever. Like they're no flaws. Like even just like playing it, like I never ran into any hiccups. It was great.
Yeah, it's really great.
Yeah.
So that was my number 5. Ted, what is your number 4?
My number 4 was Hitman 3.
Let's talk about it.
That was your number 6? Number 5?
My number 7.
Number 7. Shit. Okay.
Wow.
So
you're not a real hitmanner.
I wasn't very good at it.
Yeah.
You're not Ted.
But I've also seen Ted play video games, so I don't think Ted was very good at it either.
I think I watched. I did watch your guys' like recording.
Attempted a let's play.
Yeah. Oh boy.
It was great. I would have been fine.
Ted, where do you want to start with Hitman? How do you want to talk about this game?
So this is kind of it's the third Hitman game. This is a continuation of what they've been doing.
Yeah.
We talked about this back in February. Listen in. It's a lot more of the same.
Oh yeah.
And it does complete the story, which is really funny, whatever story that might be. But the reason I put this high on my list is because Hitman 3, they ended up doing a whole bunch of cinematic bits to this. I don't know if you guys remember this. Hitman's 1 and 2 were cool. They had a story. It was a cutscene, and then you were plopped in a mission, and then it was there. Hitman 3, they started doing things with the camera angles, where like you would walk into a place, the nightclub level, where like as you are progressing into the intro of the story, as you're like, if you guys remember, that's the one where you're not just plopped in. You don't have your cell phone, so you don't see the map. You have to walk in, and as you are walking in and around to get into this nightclub, like the music is starting, like it's the bass is bumping, and then you slowly, and then you eventually walk in, and I know this was on purpose because I looked it up. Right as you walk into the nightclub is when the beat drops, is when the DJ, and that's on purpose. Little things like that make me really excited for the James Bond game that's
Yes.
coming out.
Oh yes,
Yes.
And
I can't wait
seeing
for that.
and if Hitman 3 was a practice playground for them to get their cinematic chops, I think they nailed it, and I
Yes.
think it was really cool.
For me, the reason this game is, I mean, even on my top 10 list, is just, well, the mansion level alone is on my top 10 list.
Right.
But they took this formula that I'd played in the Hitman 1 or 2, whatever we played together, Ted, but a formula that I played and that they didn't really change. But then they found ways to almost construct side stories in these different missions that completely changed how you play. So like in this mansion level, you go and there's been a death in this family, and you take out the detective, and you can now be the detective and solve the murder.
Yeah.
And like go through
if you put on the detective outfit, only if you put on the detective outfit, suddenly the whole mini game opens up where you have to find the suspects, read off their alibis, and then solve the murder.
Yeah, and like interview them, and it's just like, and I was like, this is a game that I was just supposed to put like poison in a cup and walk away, but now they're like, you can be a detective too. And that the nightclub mission is all about like, these people have infiltrated this nightclub and you got to find them before they find you. And it's like that, all that stuff, like the changes were really cool to the formula. So it is on my list just for that. Is like, they really nailed this formula, and James Bond now makes me, I mean, shit. Yeah. What a perfect match.
Definitely.
IO Interactive and James Bond. Yeah.
I'm really excited. I'm a little bit bummed because I got a little bit unlucky with this game of like, I bought it for Epic Game Store PC and then immediately came across an Xbox. And I was really hoping they would release some kind of like triple pack, just buy all 3 games all together. And they haven't done that yet. I'm sure it'll happen, but they haven't done it yet. But yeah, no, this Hitman 3 is great. A great addition to conclusion to the World of Assassination trilogy.
I love that. The conclusion we all were waiting for.
Yeah, I really hope that they combine all these into one package and just start selling that, because I think that would be a great product in and of itself.
Yeah.
The Hitman games are great. And it's weird to talk about 3 separated from 2 and 1, because they're all kind of the same thing. It all kind of feels like a giant DLC pack for each other.
Yeah.
But even so, Hitman 3 stands out in its own unique ways.
I thought it was great. I really thought it was fantastic. James, what is your number 4?
Number 4 is Resident Evil Village.
Wow.
Yeah, this game, at first, I think when I first was going to play it, I didn't think I was going to like it at all. I was like, maybe I'm not too big a fan of like the RE7 style. I was more of like, I love the RE2 kind of style, and then RE3 style, but RE3 game was nowhere near as good as RE2. Even though we know it could have all been in one game. Like, it could have just been Resident Evil 2. It's just they split it up into 2 games, which it's fine.
Yeah.
But RE8 is pretty incredible. It combines an element right at the start that comes from RE2, which I thought that's pretty masterful. Like, you're kind of borrowing from something that already existed, and then it like takes on other forms. Like
what does it borrow? Like being hunted by a monster in a big broom?
Being hunted, and it's the exact same kind of hunt layout, except it's way easier than RE2. RE2 is way harder. Like, you're done. And in this one, it's really easy to escape. But anyways, also the fear. It's like, it's a giant lady that can like swipe you.
Instead of just an imposing man in a hat.
Yeah, and then also like, with RE2, it's like a third person view, and then Village, you're first person, and that adds up like the scary notch like a little bit more.
Couldn't do it, James.
And then and the field of view is also like narrowed.
Yeah.
But it has like an interesting start to the story, and there's some really fun parts to it. Good puzzles, as always. Resident Evil has great puzzles, and I played it through. I fully like enjoyed every moment of it, and I was surprised. Like, I think when I first started, I was like, yeah, it's probably my game of the year. Like, at the start, of course, like, I was like, maybe it's gonna fall off the list, and it has. It's at number 4, but
still, that's high.
It definitely deserves a nod, and I should go back and play RE7 because that's kind of like where it started for this. But it's not really needed to play this game. It kind of like explains itself, and it's definitely hints at another game beyond this. So I can't wait for that if that ever does happen.
I'm sure it will. This one sold very well.
Yeah,
they're keeping this train rolling.
I'm a big Resident Evil fan, and I can't wait for like a good 4. That is my.
Is it coming this year? I hope
Yeah,
so.
please, can we get like a 4 that's as good as like
I
RE2?
think they're going to release a Resident Evil 4 every year from now on in some capacity.
We got the VR Resident Evil that came out this year.
Remake's coming.
Yeah, so give me a good RE4 remake and we're set.
I couldn't do the first person, James. I couldn't do it.
It's pretty scary because you're really zoomed in. Like you
yeah.
you have no field of view, so
I
it's like
hate
your
it.
gun's like right here next to your eye.
Yeah.
Like
I don't like not being able to see the sides. So like I don't like turning and then just
and the
something's right
turn
there.
slow. Yeah, the slow turn.
Not for me. Not for me. A lot of anxiety in those turns. Yeah.
Yeah.
My number 4 was a game James already talked about. Deathloop. I assume that's also on Ted's list.
That was my number 5.
Oh no, James.
Wait,
we haven't talked about it yet.
We haven't talked about it yet. James.
Talk Deathloop.
Should we talk about it later?
Door.
My number 3 is Deathloop.
Well, we'll wait till we're at number 3. We're almost there.
Skip it.
Okay.
So my number
We'll
4 was
skip
Deathloop. All right.
Hey.
We're on number 3. Ted, what is your number 3?
My number 3 was Halo, so we'll skip it.
We'll skip it because that's going to come back.
We'll skip it. Yeah.
Right,
we're going to start doing this a lot
next
here.
year.
Keep skipping.
Right.
Okay, so what's your number 3 then?
What's your number 3?
Deathloop.
Oh, cool. Then let's talk about Deathloop now. We've all gone.
Cool.
Okay. Wait, is that your number 3?
My number 4 was Deathloop.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, this is a bad system. We're going to make it better. Okay, so yeah, James, I want you to start about Deathloop. I think this is a great...
Deathloop is a crime that I can't believe it didn't win anything when we were watching the awards. Because it deserves
to win
something.
one way and then win a different.
It's a crime against humanity.
Yeah, James, it's a crime against my time.
No, I was reviewing this game or reviewing my list with my Steam list, and I was like, again, seeing people who wanted to play this game, and I'm like, I was like, where does this really sit on my list? And at first, I was like, this is definitely game of the year. It has a complex, interwoven system that at first seems like impossible, and there's no way that this can connect, and somehow it majestically comes together and forms a beautiful game. It seems like just a stray mess at the start. You're like, what the hell am I doing? I'm just gonna go here. I'm just gonna go here, and you get in the loop. Like get in the zone. You know exactly what you're going to do. You time certain things. You get certain weapons. You know, like certain people, and it's like Hitman on crack. That's what I'd say. It does really fun things that in the abilities, because if you're a Dishonored fan, like Dishonored is one of my it's a great game. Like I love Dishonored 1. It's beautiful, and it combines the elements from Dishonored with this sort of like Hitman style, like where you're trying to basically, I mean, the goal of the game is you're trying to break the loop.
Yeah,
that's your goal, and how you break the loop is masterful. Like I think when we talk about this, like I don't understand how you conceive this game, like how you conceive this style. It's its own style. I was trying to explain to someone, and he was like, "Oh, is it a roguelike?" I'm like, not really though. It's like
it's a loop game.
It presents itself as
a loop like.
Yeah.
This I don't think this will become to define the genre, but this idea of like you do the same thing over and over again with getting different results.
Yeah, it's like
it'll
doing
become
the same
like a
thing
loop game.
Yeah, but it's like
the Forgotten City is a loop game.
Yep. So it was 12 minutes that we played all.
Yeah.
12 minutes as well. Yeah. So yeah, man, it's been a year of loop games, I guess.
Yes.
But this is definitely set the tone for what a loop game is.
Yeah. So for me, I mean, Deathloop's on all of our lists, and all very high in the top 5 of all of our lists. I think it is a game that only has great ideas. I think that it is a game that is like everything that's like concepted is awesome. Conceived.
Yeah.
Concepted's not a word. I apologize. But conceived, anything that was concepted, but like all of the ideas are so solid, and even like Juliana coming into your game and having it be another player, it adds like this great tension to it. Yes, it does get annoying when it keeps fucking happening because that's how video games work, and the code is just you're getting in this stupid cycle. But like when it happens and like you've just finished a key moment, and you're like, motherfucker, I gotta get out of here. Like I have to, or else I'm fucked. Like what a cool way to like really ratchet up tension and have it being another player instead of just like an AI. The game has issues,
like a stake in the game, basically.
Yeah, and I think this game does a great thing with power, like you were saying, James. Like as you go on through these loops, man, by the end of it, you are just nailing it. Like you are just running through this loop like every second. There's gonna be a guy here, shoot him, run this way, and it's just like I love when that sense of power of like, oh yeah, I got this shit.
I think it's highly underrated because what happened is with another friend that I was having playing is like they started playing at the start and then they just only wanted to do like Juliana stuff, and then they started losing with Juliana, and then it's like, I don't want to play anymore. And I was like, you're not really giving this game, so you gotta give the time into this game and really dedicate yourself to it. If you just try and like play it just to play it, like a normal game, like play it through so you beat a level and go through, you won't beat this game.
Yeah.
That's just how it is. You gotta study it. You gotta like understand like what is the goal of this game.
And it's one of those games that like you gotta play the 2 to 3 hour chunks. Like you can't just do like a 20-minute chunk.
No.
Yeah. It's great.
I think this is lowest on my list, and I actually have my gripes with it. The Juliana thing I think is really swingy. I think I talked about this when we were talking about it. There would be times where I would go up against a Juliana who already knew the maps, who had better guns than me, and she would kind of just snipe out of the spawn. And I was like, all right, this is dumb. But then there were times where I ran into a Juliana who I was better at, and that person didn't know the map as well as me, and that was super fun of like, who's hunting who here? I actually think a lot of the edges around Deathloop I thought were kind of boring. For me, I was not swooned by the world necessarily. I thought it was neat, but we're talking about the same genre that had BioShock, that had Dishonored. I thought it was like, okay, we're doing Mad Scientist Pleasure Island. Okay. Yeah. And I thought artistically a lot of it was really neat. But it was kind of okay. The gunplay I thought was kind of boring after a while. The guns stayed very much the same. Yeah,
there wasn't a very big variety in guns.
There wasn't gun customization. In like BioShock, you like add these weird things to your guns and it gets weird and wild. And that the gun stayed the same, and that translated into gameplay of like, if you get the machine gun, you're going to use it as a machine gun, and that's it. All of that being said, I think the way it weaves this narrative that's like it's like a matrix. It's like what 4 times of day this way and 4 areas this way, and there's 16 different levels technically, and you have to figure out. But not only do you have to figure out the perfect path through it, the game's gonna get you there.
Yeah, it's not like you have to like actually catalog it. It'll like, you know this because you did this. It's like
the information.
I do know that. You're right, Gabe.
It really tied a beautiful line between Hitman, which is like, you're going to go a lot of different directions and different things are going to happen. And the joy of Hitman is just letting that happen and just doing something different and weird every time and rolling with it. And a traditional story that's going to guide you and push you in the right direction. And that was a really cool thing of like, I was doing all kinds of weird stuff. My brain was like, oh, what if I tried this? What if I went here and did this? But at the same time, I was still being guided through a story. And I was progressing the whole time, and nothing I ever did felt like wasted time. Yeah, which I think was really cool. I think James, well, one of you, I think it was Jake actually, said, "How was this game conceived?" Do you guys remember the movie Edge of Tomorrow?
Yes.
With Tom Cruise that got rebranded to Live Die Repeat. Yeah, it was like Groundhog Day, but with military stuff.
It's a great movie.
Yeah, it's a neat movie, and at the end of that movie, Tom Cruise has lived life. Repeated the loop so many times that he knows everything, that he can like perfectly fight because he knows every punch that could possibly be thrown. And I thought that's kind of where this game was going. And I actually would have liked, and maybe we'll see in a Deathloop 2, more of this on steroids, to where you can play this loop and do it so many times that like you will destroy like nobody has a chance because you've done this level.
8x8, Ted. It's gonna be 8x8.
8x8. Yep. Not even that, but just
more.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, and like the game moved at a clip that was a little bit too fast for me to really like ingest a certain level to a point where like I'm the king of the docks in the morning, and like I know everything, and nobody has a chance against me because I know everything. Because the story kind of progresses you, and once you learn the docks in the morning, you just do it and you move on. Yeah. But I thought that marriage of like, puzzle solving versus pushing you through a narrative was really cool and really special.
For sure.
Yep. There are definitely times where you feel invincible, and then there's other times where it's like, oh crap, like one little mistake here and I'm done.
Yeah.
And my loop is over.
Also, the Game Awards jolted my memory. Whoever voice acted Colt.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Did a fantastic. So I was laughing out loud multiple times. I completely forgot about that. And I looking back on it, I can't even remember why I forgot. Like he was great.
Yeah, Colt.
Him naming his gun Colt Jr. was like.
Colt 45? Nope, two
Colt
on the nose. My number 3 is Returnal, the PS5 exclusive. Returnal is friggin' awesome by Housemarque. They've always made great arcade shooters, and then they got to make a third-person roguelike, whatever it is. I don't know. I always get confused.
Yeah, rogue.
Whatever progress cap carries. Any progress that kind of carries. That's the one it is. But it is a great game that I'm so just floored by Returnal. It's hard, it's challenging, but it is satisfying, and it is the pace of it, the fight, the combat is like something I've really never played before. Like how fast you have to move in that game and shoot, and how you never aim down sights, and it's just such a special game that I really am sad that it's only on PS5 because like it'd be a game I'd be like, you guys both have to play it.
I heard there's a Nvidia leak today, or I think something that it might be coming. It's like from the same source that announced all the other leaks that have been.
It's a perfect match for it.
They're getting a port studio to port it.
Yeah, probably because if you sell only on the PS5, you can only sell to people who own PS5s.
Yeah.
And that number is smaller than people who own everything else.
It'll eventually go up, but I feel like they'll definitely benefit from a good sale. But
if you want to sell the most number of copies, you need to provide.
When it comes to PC, I think that's what they'll make a lot of good
explode.
money.
And apparently it's sold very well on PS5 too, which I was very happy to hear. Because I want them to just make another one similar to this. Also, the DualSense with this game was fabulous. It had the two different fire methods where like you pressed the trigger softly and it did something, and if you held it down, it did another thing. So it was really innovative stuff like that. I thought was pretty cool as well. So, Returnal. All right, we are on our number 2s, right?
2s, yes.
Now I'm going to make a bold prediction, James. You ready for this?
Yeah.
I think we all have the same number 1.
I think we do.
I think you're wrong.
Oh.
Ted, what's your second game?
My second game is Inscription.
Whoa!
Oh no!
Wow, I am wrong. Okay.
Now we're wrong.
All right. So what?
So we'll skip me and.
Well, I would like to hear. Well, yeah. Let's skip you.
Yeah. We'll skip you.
Okay.
Because we'll come back to your game of the year, and then we'll talk about why Inscription's not your game of the year.
Yeah. My number 2 is Halo Infinite.
Let's talk about that's my number 2. That's my
Yeah,
number 2 as well.
That's my number 3.
I mean, I feel like in a lot of lists, this could easily be a number 1 because it's Halo, and it's Halo as we knew it, as we grew up with. It's Halo's back.
Halo's without a co-op campaign is not the Halo I grew up with.
Halo with good multiplayer, and like a fun multiplayer is the Halo I grew up with, and that's like I barely played the campaign when I was a little kid.
Yeah.
So I was like Halo 1 like multiplayer, Halo 2 multiplayer. That's all that mattered to me.
This is
it.
This is by far my favorite game of the year. I mean, by like a mile. I think my game of the year, which we'll talk about, did something so different that I never expected it. But this man, it delivered on everything I was hoping for. I love the campaign. Story stuff is like kind of wacky, but like how they made an open world Halo campaign, they nailed it.
Yeah.
Like they really nailed it. The grappling hook is amazing.
Grappling hook is the best thing ever.
I'm obsessed with this multiplayer. I have like a problem with it. Guys, I'm level 91 in the battle pass.
Holy crap.
I have a problem with it.
That's great.
But I love it. I can't stop. And they nailed the combat. They nailed they made what you were saying, James. They made it feel like we were playing Halo back then. Yep. But it doesn't feel like a game from back then. And that's like the most
a modern shooter.
And when you can nail that, man, it's perfect.
And it's not like cheesy or anything. Like it's completely balanced. It is fair to the T. It is great.
Oh, okay. It's like Halo's always been kind of cheesy.
No. I'm just saying, like, in terms of like what the grapple can do, running and like shielding stuff like that. No, it's completely like fair.
Yeah, and if there's no loadouts, which is perfect and everything. And I think what I really love about Halo Infinite is they kept a lot of the stuff that is like cheesy that made Halo what it was, and they still in the game. And I think that's really cool. Like we always talk about when you melee someone, they melee you, and you both just die. Like that sucks, but it's such a Halo thing. And that
what about when you shoot each other in SWAT?
Yeah, or like when you shoot each other in SWAT and you both die, and it's like, did we really get the off at the same time? All right. Yeah. Like that stuff makes Halo feel like Halo, and they nail it with this game so much. I love Halo Infinite. I really love it.
I think the reason it's number 3 and not number 2 or number 1 on my list is simply because my Halo experience is like co-op and custom games, which are two things that kind of have fallen into the second wave, which is okay. Take your time to make it. That's not a big deal. I'm excited for it when it comes out, and I can put it on my Game of the Year list 2022.
Halo co-op.
But what they have, I think, is really cool and really special, and shows as you were saying, that like they're able to bring something that is old and take it to the future.
Yeah.
Which is something that a lot of games a lot of franchises are starting to struggle with.
That's so true. And 343 has struggled with that for 2 other Halo games. Like they've always kind of missed it. And
I mean, a recent huge franchise this year who released a AAA game failed at that, which is Battlefield 2042.
Yeah.
Like, that's not on any of our lists, and I don't think it's on a lot of people's lists.
I don't even play it.
Yeah.
I honestly can't speak to it because I never got the inclination to play it.
Yeah, I'm very happy, and the multiplayer is free. And
it's nothing.
It's just
free multiplayer, and it's a AAA multiplayer. It's like this isn't.
It doesn't feel like it's a free
campaign is
multiplayer.
technically free on Game Pass.
Mm-hmm.
Technically.
Okay, Ted,
Best.
because you're different than us, because you're special.
Yep.
What is your game of the year?
You guys are going to give me a lot of crap for it, and I don't even care.
Okay.
My game of the year is Valheim.
Oh, okay. No, I won't
That's
give you
fine.
crap for it.
No, I was wondering where Valheim was on your list.
Dude, I spent the last like 72 hours getting ready to fight the early access fight. Are you kidding me?
No,
That's it.
no.
I
think it's allowing me. I can drink.
I mean, you're wrong, but that's okay to have that pick. Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay to pick.
It's okay to be wrong, but yeah.
I picked Valheim. I think we kind of spoke about it in Game Awards, and at the time, just Valheim is a perfect combination of like what makes Minecraft great, of like your friends have to figure out how to survive together. Someone's going to craft resources, someone's going to go out and explore. We're going to divvy up different tasks, and we're going to work together as a team to survive and thrive. And all of that mixed with just the size and breadth that is Valheim was just so mind-blowing to me, and something that was truly like just an incredible moment with my friends to be able to we're all going to group up and we're going to do this together.
Yeah.
We at some point had more than 4 people on a server, which is always a good sign. It was really special. My biggest example of this is and Jake, I don't think you got this far, but there was a time when we were playing Valheim where we crafted the boat, which is the Viking longship. And we were like, all right, we're going to travel across the world to go to the other area because we have the next boss to fight is way the heck over there. It took us almost 40 minutes to sail that way. And it was just me and 5 other people in a boat just sailing, and we had to stop and get some resources, and then we eventually got there and had to set up a beachhead where we had to build a fence, and it was this completely organic situation. You don't plot buildings, you have to build it yourself. We had to figure all of this stuff out ourselves, and so just being able to do that with friends was just a truly special thing, and I really appreciate Valheim for giving that. It was really cool.
Have you played more of it since updates have come out? I'm just curious.
Yes.
Okay.
So I checked out. So they've come out with one major update this year, which they kind of just added a whole bunch of little quality of life things. So instead of increasing the end game or the barrier further, they kind of just added some little things here and there along the way. So there really wasn't much to go back to necessarily. They didn't open up the new area they wanted to do, and there's some other stuff planned.
Okay.
But
very cool.
Yeah,
it's a great pick.
No, yeah. If you have friends to play with, because recently I'm playing a similar co-op style game. It's old, but it's been fun when you can play and craft with some friends and oh, let's do this, oh, let's build this, oh, let's go here, and it's there's nothing better than that.
It's doing a lot of the same things that I loved about Minecraft, but the combat feels a little bit more like Monster Hunter, and the looting feels a little bit more like a classic RPG.
The combat is amazing in that game, especially with the weapons too, and the enemies are pretty diverse. So
and how it's I say Monster Hunter, but kind of a Dark Souls. You have to be deliberate. You have to dodge at the right time and attack at the right time.
Yeah, I can't wait till it releases.
Yeah. I'll put it on my list again.
It's gonna be Ted's 2022 game of the year.
No, I maybe we'll talk about this at a different time. I don't know if that game will ever see an official release. I don't know if they know what they're doing yet.
Yeah,
we'll see.
It definitely kind of blew up, and they're like, "Oh crap,
shit.
We gotta hire more than 10 people."
They bought a horse.
That's
nice.
Good.
They needed it. That developed team, they needed it.
Yeah.
James,
let's talk about
our game of the year.
Yeah, game of the year.
It's Inscryption.
And I think it's Inscryption, and it came out of nowhere. I think for all of us, I think this was a game that I came to you guys, and I was like, guys, guys, you have to play this. And I bought it for like everyone. I bought it for, I think
You bought it from us both, I think, right?
I bought it for like 10 people.
Yeah.
Like that's how much I believed in this game after playing the initial like after like just playing the initial like 5-6 hours.
Yeah.
I've sat in a call with a friend and we played it for 10 hours straight. Like just played it through. It was so gripping. And it's like, it just has you on the edge. Like what's going to happen next? What am I going to expect next? What is this going to do? And it does it all. I was blown away by this indie game. Like it had no right to be as good as it was. And it definitely deserves Game of the Year. And I'm glad, I can't remember which one gave it Game of the Year, which company.
Shit.
PC Gamer?
No, it was like
Polygon?
It was one of those,
GameSpot?
Polygon or GameSpot. I think it was one of those.
Polygon and Vice Gaming.
Oh, Vice?
Okay. So Polygon.
Yeah,
Both,
I was like,
both gave it Game of the Year.
I was looking at some lists and I saw it at like 30 on a top 50 and I was about to vomit. I was about to just throw up.
Yeah, dude, Inscription is one of those games that it's so hard to talk about without ruining what makes it so amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It's a game that, like, I kind of feel bad explaining to people because I'm like, the point is that you shouldn't know anything. You know, it's a card game.
No, I was like,
you
go in. This is a card game, roguelike. Love it.
Yeah.
Play it.
It's a card game.
Yeah. And it's a great card game.
Yeah. And yeah, it is a great card game. And it just does stuff that only a video game can do.
Right.
And I think Valheim, like Ted, described, there's only video games can produce Valheim. Like you can't watch a movie about that and have the same experience.
Yep.
And I think that's what's so special about Inscription is you can't do this any other way. You can do The Last of Us, and they're going to do it as a TV show, and it's probably be an alright TV show. But this is like such a video game that makes you think about video games. Mm-hmm. And for us that have such a love for the mid 2000s card games of our childhood, and of Yu-Gi-Oh! And it actually made me emotional sometimes of like,
True.
Dude, this
the
is
ending
incredible.
Was very emotional.
Yeah, it is.
It is. Yeah.
It's one of the best games I've ever played.
Mm-hmm.
I'd have to agree. And you know what's also great is the creator is kind of what I'm happy is, which I'll announce if people don't know, is that they're making a official beta to make the first part of the game sort of like a regular roguelike, which is great. Cool. And the creator was like, that's all I'm going to do. Once that is done, I am moving on to other projects, which is what should be done. This should not be like, hey, let's stretch this out for some more money. You know, no, he's like, I made my art. I said what I was going to need to say. This is it. I'm moving on. And that's a beautiful thing. Like when someone makes a masterpiece and just like, no, that's how I described it. Like this is his magnum opus. Like it was just, here it is for us to experience. What a game.
Yeah. And just to think about, like, I remember when you first pitched us on this game and you bought it for both of us, you and I played Call of Duty and Ted sat in the Discord chat and played this game.
Yeah, and it was messaging.
You would just hear, you guys are messaging and I would just hear Ted be like, holy shit. Whoa.
Yeah, Ted would like text me like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I love that because that's what all the people would be like messaging me like about that stuff. And I was like, and like the theories people would come up with too. It's like, God,
because I didn't know what I was getting into, and the first 30 minutes was like, okay, this is actually a pretty fun card game. Yeah. Like I'm just playing a good card game right now.
I thought
it keeps going.
Yeah, I thought I was like, oh man, this is a great card game. All right, sweet. I'll spend like 8 hours in it. Maybe I'll put it on my list. We'll see. And then it opens up, and it really opened my mind. And I was like, and I think Jake, you described it perfectly. This is a good medium to show what a game could be, and it like I just love the indie genre, and this is the pinnacle of indie games. So what a great game to come out this year, and out of nowhere, on none of our radars.
I don't think it was on anyone's radar. It was not.
On no one's radars. But it's one of those games where it's like it's hard to like market it because you don't want to spoil anything. So you have to like word of mouth tell someone to play it.
I think it's worked. I think Inscription has been on Steam's top 20 list.
It's definitely like streamers and YouTubers have blown it up from what I've seen, and it's
the game press has done a good job.
Yeah, I see it at the top, and I'm like, great. It deserves every.
I would say the culture has done a good job. The press.
Well, I'm saying, but like IGN and like they have promoted this game in a very good way of not saying much about it and being like,
I see.
It is a game that you need to play to understand why you need to play it. Yeah. Like they're not like it's a card game, but also it's like shut up, you know?
Yeah.
Like Like I think they have
Yeah.
helped sell this game in the intrigue
Yeah.
behind it.
Yeah,
It just comes out and you're like, whoa, this is like a diamond in the rough. Like, it's crazy. Hey, have you guys heard about Inscription? This game's great.
Yeah.
And but I can't tell you anything. You gotta play it.
I remember there were just a few text messages I texted like James. I was like, "Hey, is this game scary at all?" Because like I don't do scary. And you're like, "It's not really scary." I was like, "Okay, cool." And then I remember Ted texted me at one point. He's like, "Let me know when you get the knife." And I was like, "Okay." And then like there was like a few moments just like things happened. It was just like I remember just texting James like, "James, this thing happened." He's like, "Oh, just wait." I was like, "What does that mean?" Like, I don't understand. How could this get crazier?
I love
it does. And it's by far my game of the year. I mean, as much as I love Halo Infinite, it doesn't even hold a candle to what the experience that I had with Inscription. And I'll never touch Inscription again, except for maybe that beta. Or like
I'm just gonna touch that first part of the beta and see how. Well, I mean, I guess when it comes out, when the official mod comes out, that's what I'll play.
Yeah, I heard they are looking that beta. They are kind of sort of integrating various aspects of that game back into the original game. That's a spoiler free as I would try and get.
Yeah. Okay.
And the beta will be a little bit more in depth.
That's what because I heard that
yeah.
they weren't gonna apply to the other, like the full game, but just the very first part that like everyone knows, like that you see in trailers.
I heard differently that they will be integrating bits and pieces of the other stuff.
Well, yeah, so they're not gonna do those other parts. Like you won't just play those other parts. It'll be integrated with the first part.
Interesting. I'm excited to play that. That'd be kind of cool.
I feel like it could be great. Like because the best part of like this game is like you think you know it. Like you think you like got this in the bag. It's like, oh yeah, I got a deck. Yeah, I'll show you how I play. And then it's like, nope, you have no idea what's going on.
Yeah. To be fair, my decks were pretty good.
I loved my decks.
Hey, James won me the game, man. James's card won me the game. I made a card that was James, and he could do.
I just kept making cards that were myself. I didn't realize like I could like just pick someone else.
There was like 4 Jakes, and I was like, "Fuck! I should start doing my friends' names so that I know when different cards go on. This will make way more sense." Well, before we kind of wrap up the show, I think we should just kind of is Inscription our game of the year? I know it's your number 2.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
I think if it's in
100%.
our top 2's top 1, it should by default be our game of the year.
Yeah. It is not my personal number 1 for personal reasons, but I think as a group, Inscription is our game of the year.
Well, we only put release games that are.
If game of the year is a one game to recommend going forward, 100% put Inscription.
Yeah.
So that brings our 2019 game of the year to Jedi Fallen Order, because that was a tough year. That was a rough year.
That's a great game.
It was a great game. No.
We've had some rough years in terms of.
That's a really good game.
What about our 2017 and 2018? Like it's compared to those years.
2018, yeah. And then 2020's game of the year was The Last of Us Part 2, despite Ted's begrudgence.
Hades is a great game.
Yeah, and in hindsight, maybe Hades should have been, but man, Last of Us 2.
Maybe Hades, yeah.
And then 2021 is now Inscription, so that's exciting. I'm glad we got
I think it's exciting that an indie game is our game of the year. Even though I would say Jedi Fallen Order is kind of on the cusp of like indiness, but it's like we weren't expecting it to be
EA and Star Wars, James.
Yeah, but it's like you weren't expecting this $30 game to like blow up as well.
And indie game are two very different things.
Remember, you wouldn't think the game would be too good.
You didn't think it would be good. No, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
That was a surprise.
Yeah, definitely. An indie game conceived on the 67th floor of the EA building.
No, that was a Dice, baby. They are not Dice.
That was Dice.
Respawn.
Yeah.
Respawn they tell fucking EA what they want to do. They slap that Apex Legends dick down and they say, "Here's what we're gonna do.
We're making this.
Yeah, we're making this." Well, thank you so much for watching our Game of the Year 2021 podcast. Inscription was our Game of the Year. We will be back next week with our predictions for 2022 and our results from our last year's predictions. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Jake Burke. That's Ted Libby. That's James St. Charles. And we will see you next week.
Happy New Year.